Hello everyone, in this video we're going to finish building this large fallout shelter inspired bunker that has 6 rental units for a total of up to 34 sims to live in, each of which was furnished for less than 20,000 simoleons. So in the first video we worked on the entrance and the landscaping, the overseer's office, which has a computer, a research machine, and a listening station, as well as a fully equipped gym and a gardening room, and also 2 very retro family rental units, plus the hallways that connect it all, some of which have some colorful patio furniture. This time, we'll add a study apartment, a few dorms for 8 sims to share, a Nuka-Cola themed diner, a lab/workshop with creepy experiments and creatures, a chicken and insect room for protein and biofuel, a water treatment plant and power generator room, a classroom/library, a cute laundry room, and a robot storage room. I'll have part 1 linked down in the description as well as the gallery link so that you can easily get this vault in your own game if you so wish. And also I might rebuild all of Strangerville inspired by the style of Fallout, and add raided vaults and ruined community spaces and houses. So I'll link those two when I have built them, but for now we'll just focus on finishing this build. So first we're going to be decorating this studio apartment, in which I am using this rug that I have been using all throughout the other apartments in this lot, and I really wanted to have this be a more blue tone apartment, and I think this is the most similar to the ones that you will see in the TV series because of how I have the bedroom in the same space. And I really wanted to use this fridge and stove because they have these logos that really reminded me of the Voltec logo, and I paired them with these cabinets that I have been using everywhere, but in here I am using this darker blue swatch. And I think this really worked well. I think this kitchen is actually slightly larger than the other ones, just because this one is on a corner instead of just against the wall, and I got to use this extra small cabinet in which I added that coffee pot. I also really wanted to use this shelf that I had tried to use in the other spaces but that I wasn't able to, and I am also using the same wallpaper and tile as in the others but in a different swatch, as well as the carpet, and I am also adding that trash can that looks like soda can that I am using everywhere because it has the perfect color to be similar to a Nuka-Cola Quantum. So I changed the swatch on the rug, and I actually had some trouble with the layout of this space because I really wanted this to be very small. You can easily expand that towards the front of the lot. I made this whole vault very skinny, so there's a bunch of space for it to grow and even include more units or more community rooms. But I really wanted to have this be similar to the Fallout Shelter vaults, so that's how I decided to lay this out. And I really wanted to make sure that there was a bed, a dresser, a bookshelf, and a couch, and I was very happy that I was also able to include a small desk as well. I did playtest this and it works just fine. I also, at some point, I don't show it, but I remembered to add a fake window to that wall because that's something that I was doing on the other units, and I really wanted to incorporate it. It really made this look a bit more artificial because I wanted to have this very ideal, like, retro apartment, but I wanted to have some nods to the fact that it was an underground bunker, so maybe you wouldn't really want to live here. So I kept some of these metal walls, and I am using the same metal texture that I have on most of the floor on the ceiling, and the doors and windows have that look to them. And I also really wanted to have the hallways be more industrial than the actual units, but I really wanted to use this colorful patio furniture like the ones that they have in the show because I thought that was a fun contrast to have, and it just added to that slightly creepy element of the whole Fallout inspiration. So I also wanted to include a laboratory in here, and I am using a bunch of stuff from the Strangerville debug especially. I also use some stuff that isn't in debug, but this corner piece and those large structures with the lights are from debug, I think. And I really wanted to have this also work as a workshop. So I do have some sciencey stuff like the microscope, and later on I added a few experiments to this, besides the ones that I had already added from Strangerville. But I also wanted to have this woodworking table and the fabricator, because I kind of wanted this to be... It might not actually be functional off the grid, but I did include a bunch of power generators and water things. So I wanted to make sure that you could create those special upgrade parts and maybe make your vault the most efficient as you could. And I wanted this to look like it would be a place that would be able to run itself for centuries just without really needing anything from outside. So that's another way that they could use their trash and make other furniture according to the needs that they would have later. And I also really wanted to have that workshop space be raised up and also to include the robotics table or robotics station. So that you could make some more robots. I added this bunch of party robots and gardening robots to this storage space that I have next to, on the same level where I have the lab. They look like Mr. Handy, and I also included a servo so that you could have even more robots helping your dwellers with their daily tasks and with keeping the vault running. And to me it was important to have that storage space with a bunch of lockers and stuff. I actually added a few more things to it off camera because when I was taking screenshots I had a few more ideas for that space, and so you will see them then. But now we're going to be working on this first dormitory space that is shared by 8 sims. I was thinking that since this was the lowest level, this would be where you would have the laboratory, the water plant and power generators and that storage space. And so I was thinking that this was where the scientists stay, since they would be the ones that had clearance for accessing these levels. And speaking of levels, I did try to add an elevator to this lot, and I would have been able to fit them in that area where I have the stairs, but the game limits you to only having one elevator per lot, so I just didn't bother with that. Maybe I could have picked one just adding doors to nowhere, but it didn't seem worth it to me, and especially since I wanted to be able to have all of that patio furniture. I also wanted to include some activities into these dormitory areas. I have 3 dormitories that all house up to 8 sims, and I gave them sitting areas and one activity to each. The activities are all different. In this first one, for example, we have a cards table or a games table, and I also really wanted all of these to be able to have a TV and bookshelves and stuff. And I added those posters that I am adding everywhere. I think all of the spaces, or at least most of the spaces, have that Nuka-Cola poster, or, well, it's an energy drink poster, but to me it's Nuka-Cola. And I also included a dessert poster. And I really wanted to make it look like this was the level for the scientists, so I include these cuts that are more military and like more utilitarian. And I also have that periodic table on the wall. And I also wanted to make sure that they would all have lockers, as well as these shelves that they would be able to use as bedside tables. I don't show a bunch of how I decorate each and every one of the shelves that I have in all of the dormitories, because they were a lot of shelves and I actually changed some of them when I was taking screenshots. I tried not to do that. I tried to finish a build completely and take screenshots right away so that everything that is recorded will be in the video, or most of it. But this was such a large build that I just kept having ideas after the fact, and I just felt that it was the most correct thing to do. But now you can see that I have added a bunch of those power generators and the water things. I forget what they're called. And I'm going to be coming back to that area because I decided later to add a platform to it and add a desk for a supervisor, and that really tied it all together. I also added some blue pipes, but I don't show that because, again, that's one of those ideas that I had after the fact. However, I did make the water heaters blue, and I think that worked nicely because I also made one of them rusty and the other one is clean. So that gave it some nice variety. And I also added a few lockers to this hallway space just to have a bit more detail in this area. But now we're working on this second farming area, which is going to have chickens, bees, and a bunch of insects. I really liked the idea of using these picket fence so that it would look like, once again, one of those ideal spaces. And one reason why I wanted to have this area was so that there would be a source of protein for your Sims. So there's eggs, and insects also have a bunch of protein. But the cool thing about insects is that they also make biofuel, so that you can use that for the power generator and all of the other machinery in that previous room. And I also decided to have a wedding arch in case you would want to hold a wedding in here. I also added a few benches against the other wall so that the wedding could be attended by the dwellers. And I also wanted to have some hydroponic planters, just because bees help you with gardening, so that made sense to me. And then I remembered about these industrial lights and I decided to add them everywhere, but then I came back and I added that stone and flower flooring to that space. I really liked how artificial it looked, just to add it like a... I was thinking maybe that's some sort of... maybe it's linoleum or something. But now we're working on this classroom/library space. I added a bunch of these bookshelves and posters. A lot of these reading posters are from Strangerville, and I think they are very cute. They have these very cute illustrations on them, and they fit with the vibes of the ones that I have from the base game as well. And I'm also using this whiteboard from high school years, and the desks and the chairs are also from that pack. And then against the other wall, I decided that I would have some more didactic material and a blackboard with some like math and equations and stuff. Just because maybe they decided that it would be best for them to also have that option. I never had blackboards until I was in university because I took drawing classes, and it's much easier to demonstrate a few of the techniques and stuff on a blackboard with actual chalk instead of using markers. But now I'm decorating these shelves. I am just adding a bunch of books to them. They are from the base game and also from Cats and Dogs and a few other packs. And I really wanted these to have like this very, like a designated reading area, and next to it the actual part where the lessons take place. And I added that coffee table that has a very Voltec kind of blue to it. And I really liked how that worked out. And I also added those posters that I mentioned I was including everywhere. So there's these energy drinks that I'm thinking are Nuka-Cola, and I did come back to this room later and I don't show it, but I added one of those big tapestries with a landscape, and I added some curtains so that it would kind of look like there's a window. And now we're working on this other dorm. I decided to use these cots from Little Campers because they were cuter, and I was thinking maybe a bunch of kids stay here. I don't know why all of these children are here, where they came from, and why they all stay together in this space with no adults. But I thought that added to the strangeness of this build, and I decided to give them some lockers as well next to that area with the window that I mentioned I had added. And I also wanted them to have a ping pong table just so that they could have some activities and stuff to do. And then I added that sitting area with the TV, the books, and the stereo. This one is a bit different. It uses different furniture, but I still wanted to keep it blue and retro, just so that there would be a bit more variety, even if I was thinking that maybe the dwellers don't have much individuality. But it felt weird to me to just keep all of the cots and the bedding and everything in the same swatches, and it just didn't look the way that I wanted it to. I also found some juice from the juice fizzy machine that comes with Eco Lifestyle that has that blue liquid on them, and I thought that it looked like some Nuka-Cola quantums, and so I decided to just include that in that sitting area. And then I copied and pasted that room into this other dorm that is a bit different from the other one. This one doesn't have a TV, it just has a bunch of seating and a foosball table. I was thinking that the foosball table would be the most desirable item, so that they didn't get a TV, but there's some TVs in the gym if they wanted to watch TV. So yeah, and now we're working on this very beautiful diner. I think this might be my favorite room in all of this build. I also really enjoyed one of the smaller apartments that I made, but I loved making this space. I added those vintage appliances in red, which felt perfect to me, and I also added this cafeteria stand from high school years so that it looked like your Sims could get some prepared food from it. And I am also using the chairs and tables from the pack because I wanted it to look a lot like a community lot. And then I'm just adding all of this wall art from Strangerville that has all of these very beautiful retro swatches with the gas stations and the diners and a record as well. I also wanted to have these, I forget what it's called, but you know, that huge thing for music. And I added a bunch more of those items. And this is when I found those like aliens that are both dead or alive in these little like fish bowls. And I decided to add them into this laboratory just so that it would look a bit creepier and like there were actually some experiments and shady things happening in here. And I think that this worked out really well. They do look like they could be mutants. I know that they are supposed to be aliens, but I think that they are not far off from something that you would find in Fallout, hopefully. And then we're just going to go back into that diner and add some more decorations and stuff to it. I wanted it to look like it was a very functional space, and I also added those like fake Nuka-Colas in there. I also wanted to have a bunch of condiments and that body statue that comes with the base game that really looked to me like Vault Boy. He's waving instead of having his thumb up, but I thought that it worked pretty well. He's also blonde and the base is blue, so that's something that I was really excited about. And I have them on top of that vending machine. And I also included that pin-up that is riding a rocket that really looks like one of the illustrations from the actual games. And I also remembered to add the juice fizzing machine into that hallway so that you could make your own Nuka-Colas. And that really reminded me of Fallout Shelter as well, because I enjoyed having my dwellers make their own Nuka-Colas. And now we're just rearranging some of the wall decorations because I changed the color of the walls to be this paneling. And I also found some more like soda decorations. Those are from For Rent, and I thought that it fit the vibe in here. I also added a menu, and I found that the best way to be able to access this kitchen space was to have a door that was accessible from the hallway. I tried adding a gate, which is something that I normally do with a fence, but it just wasn't fitting this space right. So that's what I did, and I also wanted to have some cabinets with a TV and some more like condiments and stuff. I think I do go back to it, but you will see that later. Now we're just working on this laundry room, which was a space that I was really happy with, and I decided to have some washers and dryers in red and some more patio furniture. I think this would be an interesting space to be at while waiting for your laundry to be done, and I thought that it was funny to have this lounge chair in here. And I am using a lot of the furniture from the backyard stuff pack. And I also don't keep those 3 washer and dryers. I only have 2 of each because I thought that it would make a bit more sense. And now we're back into the diner, just adding some more of these condiments and the s'mores tray, as well as that really cute rocket ship lamp that came in red. So that reminded me of the Red Rocket truck stops. So I decided to have them in each of these living spaces, as well as that fake Vault Boy. And then I'm just going to be painting the stairs, the railings, and the fences in the hallways yellow so that they would match the ones from the show a bit better. And I think that just made this whole space work perfectly. And it is everything that I wanted it to be. And then we're going to be rearranging those power generators and water heaters and other stuff. And I think that this worked a lot better in this space. It really made it look like it was an industrial space that was meant to be this way, because these power generators are very small and I wanted them to look like they were not meant to just like power a small trailer home or an off-the-grid cottage or something. And then I'm just going to be adding that supervisor's desk with some clutter that looked a bit retro, and that's going to be mostly it for this build. I'm going to make sure to have this up in the gallery once this video is up. I really loved working on this one. I hope you liked it too. If you did, I would really appreciate it if you left a like and if also you subscribe to my channel for more content. I want to rebuild the whole of Strangerville in a Fallout or Wasteland aesthetic, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.